Mr. Bowtie's Texas High School Sports Machine is driven by Henry Finley and McCombs Ford West, a proud supporter of all area local sports. McCombs Ford West, simply the best.
Joey is just a class person, brings great energy, and I think he wears his heart out in front. And so there's, you can see that coming in, and you respect it greatly, and you root for him. And so I'm going to be doing that. I really want to see him do well, and he's got a bunch of people on that staff that I greatly respect and admire too. And so, every game but one we'll be pulling for him.
Hey folks, Mr. Bowtie here. Keep banging home that subscribe button on your screen so that way you can stay up to date on all the great area high school and local sports coverage TV, radio, and cheap web streams refuse to cover. And check out my Twitter at Mr. Bowtie 1982. It's fast, it's free, and the UIL will love you if you do it. Thanks so much and enjoy the show.
Texas Tech is such a great place. Everywhere I've been blessed. Cedar Hill was phenomenal to us and my family. I was there for 20 years, and then Baylor for 5, and now Texas Tech. And I think I've landed exactly where I'm supposed to be, and hopefully I never leave.
Baylor, you were there for a few years after Cedar Hill. You were under Aranda. What did Aranda kind of teach you to get you ready to go from the training wheels, so to speak, to being now the driver of the car in Lubbock?
Well, whenever I made that move from Cedar Hill, went Matt Rhule and then Dave Aranda, and both of those guys, were really good for me as far as learning under. Matt Rhule is a phenomenal mentor as far as it goes with the roster management, when you can graduate kids early, different things like that. And then Coach Aranda just did such a good job of continuing what Coach Rhule had built. And really he did it in a different way, but very similar, being player-centered.
You had, when you came into Baylor, they either were going through that downtime or they had just been coming out of it. How did that kind of help you going to Tech, just because Texas Tech has not had a lot of football history compared to Texas and Baylor and A&M?
Well, I think, we did. I got there in 2016, and my first season was 2017, so we go 1-11, just rebuilding that program, really, because they had so much success, earlier. But rebuilding that program has helped a bunch as far as knowing exactly what we need on the roster, knowing exactly what we need strength staff-wise and nutritionists, everything like that, putting all that stuff together. That was huge, doing that at Baylor and learning from those guys.
As I mentioned, Tech just does not have a lot of great moments in history outside of the Crabtree catch years ago. We know Tech's great for basketball. How do you build an identity out there? Just because there's still some people that forget that, Tech is still in the Big 12, and that some people may just forget it because it's kind of on its own island, so to speak.
Well, you just won a bowl game this year against the SEC opponent, so I think it shows that the guys are there that can play at a high level. We got a lot of guys back that have played a lot of football. We're old on defense, and then we have 3 quarterbacks that are battling it out, and they're all 3 really good. And so I think you just take it from there. You take it from, you come in and you care about the kids, and you work their tails off, and you get them ready to play. And, it was good making a bowl last year. I think we've carried some momentum into this year, and, we'll see in a couple weeks what we're going to do.
Guys like Chad Morris, Todd Dodge, guys were great in high school, didn't pan out great in college. What do you have to do to kind of avoid whatever pitfalls they may have had to be successful at Tech? Or what do you learn from those guys that maybe didn't work for them that maybe could work for you?
Well, I follow Jeff Traylor. Jeff Traylor's done a great job, just a great blueprint as far as being yourself. Whenever I got the job, the first thing he told me, he and I are very, very close, and we talk all the time, and he said, the locker room is no different. It may be different whenever you're, having to deal with other things when it comes to college football, but the locker room is no different. The locker room, you still have players, and you win with players, and so his biggest deal was making sure you're being yourself. I think the other thing is the staff that he put together is very similar to the staff that I put together. I mean, including myself, there's 7 former Texas high school coaches, and so it brings a lot of stability. It brings a lot of confidence in the state. I think the other Texas high school coaches understand, what we're about, so it's helping us in recruiting. So a lot of it, I've leaned a lot on Matt Rhule, of course, but also on Jeff Traylor.
I was going to ask you, the conference is going to be changing with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, about 4 schools coming in. How do you adjust to that, just because you wouldn't have all that history with Cincinnati or a BYU? You can look back and see how they match up. How do you adjust to that in the next few years where this conference is going to look completely different than it is now?
Well, you better get ready to play football. I mean, this year and next year. I mean, Cincinnati played in the Final Four. Houston lost 1 game. We played BYU whenever I was at Baylor, and, that's a national program. Central Florida, had a great year, and Malzahn's done a great job. So, I don't know necessarily, you talk about what you're losing, what you're gaining. What you're gaining is really, really good football programs. And, we're focused on this year. We're focused on what we have to do, but the conference is going to be really strong. We're in a really good spot. And then I think you saw our commissioner talking about the conferences open for business. I think the conference will look different in 3 to 4 years than what you think it's going to look now.
Final question. 10 years ago, you're at Cedar Hill. You're going to all those battles with Gary Joseph and Katie in the state finals. What did you learn from your time at Cedar Hill and DFW, which is the best high school sports in the nation, that 10 years later you can use now that you're going into the Power 5 and the big boy football leagues?
Well, if you make it about anything other than the players, you're missing the mark. It's all about the players. Players win games. Coaches prepare them to win games, and that's what we're going to do. But we're a player-centered program. That's what we were at Cedar Hill, and that's what we'll be. One of my former players is standing behind us, and man, it's all about those guys, and you pour into them, and you care about them, and you love them, and good things that happen.